Today I will be asking you a series of questions about the October 21st, 2023 boat trip.
And why are you going to be doing that?
Today I will be asking you a series of questions about the October 21st, 2023 boat trip.
I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I'll do it.
What is your name?
Billy Boy.
What's your name?
I'm Eric. I was the designated driver for this evening.
What is your name?
I am George.
First of all, what is your name?
Sean Penta.
What did you...
Or William Boy, whichever you see fit.
What did you do before leaving for the boat trip?
Prayed first, and then we went to
Spirit Halloween, because we needed to pick up costumes for a few of us. So that was, went there.
I believe me and my cohorts, Billy, George, and Eric, partook in some Super Mario Wonder.
I think we stopped somewhere at like a stopped somewhere for food, I want to say.
We went to Taco Joe's. There's a really funny picture of George. I'll have to show you later.
Don't remember too much of the before because of what happened the during.
How is the pizza at Spumoli Gardens?
Listen, when Eric tells you that you have to try this slice of pizza, kid's not lying.
It was alright.
I thought it was pretty good.
He put it on.
So me personally, I loved it. I personally think it's one of my favorite places to get pizza outside of Long Island.
Your Uber driver got a ticket? What for?
Yes, our Uber driver did get a ticket. It's so imagine. Remember those old cartoons like the Road Runner and the Looney Tunes and all that. Remember how fast the Road Runner was? That's about approximate. So remember those old cartoons?
Well, first off, it was one of the worst Ubers I'd ever been on. It was a...
Blowing a red light?
I believe the aforementioned Uber driver flew past a red light at speeds in which I am legally not allowed to disperse the information of.
And the red light, I believe, was for running a red light because they missed an exit and were panicking to get on to fix themselves and blew the red light.
Approximately what time would you say you got on the boat?
That is a real good question.
First, we didn't know where we were. We didn't know if we were at the right drop-off spot, so we spent about 15 to 30 minutes walking around the pier.
Probably sometime after 10, around 10. I'll say 10:15. Let's call it there. 10:15.
I have no fucking clue.
I would say we got on that boat after 10, before 10:30.
And from when you got on the boat to when you docked, including as much detail as you could possibly remember, what happened?
Well, at first we kind of just wandered the boat to see the lay of the land.
Get some popcorn. Because they have all of their takes, but they were all drinking, and I was not. So I have the real stories.
What didn't happen on this fucking trip?
Well, let's get the facts straight. Those shots weren't shots. They were mouthfuls.
As others have mentioned, the shots were not shots. The shots were at least triples or more.
It took about 30 minutes before we finally left, and in that point, I believe George had 2 drinks already. I can't speak on the other 2, I don't remember. But
So imagine like a shot glass in your head, right? Right, regular, normal, typical shot glass. Take 3 of those. put them in like a big machine, right? And it's a big machine that combines things together.
You would take your shot, and it would be a mouthful. And then you'd notice you still have like another shot's worth in your cup. So it's like...
Then a very old man dressed in the same costume that Sean was dressed in came out, and they were like... He had like a lost dad moment when he saw him.
It was a dance floor on the bottom. That was pretty fun.
I would say we all kind of stayed together for about the first 15 minutes. And then I think once the first time Billy left for the bar and Sean followed, I don't think I saw them again for an hour and a half.
I believe Billy opened up to me on the, was it the poop deck or the port bow? I think it was the port bow.
I would say with about a half hour left was when we got to the I love you guys stage of the trip, where everyone was just very grateful to be around each other's company.
One of the last few things I actually remember from being on that boat is gonna be the fact of we were around the Statue of Liberty and I was like smoking a cigarette on the front of the boat.
I kind of spent most of my time outside on the hull of the boat in the front. I believe that's the hull. Just kind of enjoying, because I had taken this particular route of boat when I was in elementary school. When we graduated our elementary school, we had a little boat trip, and we did that exact thing. So I had remembered it from before. So I was trying to, like, quiz myself on, like, oh, where is this? Where is that?
Why do you want to know this? What's your angle?
There's no point. We all agreed to tell the story together because it was funny.
Big Boat put me up to this. I know they did, but you know what? I'll tell you anyway.
There's literally
The media.
no need to get aggressive.
The legacy media.
There's no need to get aggressive.
Listen,
Okay.
a couple more Halloween theme margaritas down the hatch. Salted rims. Some lime, some strawberry. Come on. I think George might have had a Corona here and there. I saw Billy with a Michelob. Typical. It's all just typical.
Do you remember getting off the boat and docking?
I do not.
When we docked, George was pretending that he was sober. And by that I mean he told me he was fine to help me carry Sean and Billy. You'd have to carry two men out of a place and off of a boat. I have. He goes, I'll help you, and then proceeds to almost fall off the boat.
And do you remember getting off the boat or
No.
docking?
No, I do not.
I lost track of George and Eric. I think they were on a journey of their own. I know George was talking to some Europeans. Maybe that was Eric. Who knows? This is where it all becomes a blur.
I had to, like, hoist Sean on one shoulder, Billy on the other. George, bless him, he at least could walk. These two couldn't walk. So I had to lug them like I was a rugby player on the line with them, and they weren't helping me at all.
Do you remember the picture that you took with two strangers after getting off the boat?
I do not remember the picture being taken, but the picture does exist. And that's all I have to say about that.
We we ended up at the Uber station waiting for the Ubers to come, and as we're waiting, the same cowboy was walking, and he had... See, at first I thought they were his two daughters, but the way he was walking with them, I don't think they were his daughters. And, you know, they were like, oh, it's the other Barbie guy. Ah. And Billy then says, let's take a picture.
And do you remember the picture that you took with two strangers when you got off the boat?
Nope. The only thing I remember past the boat is the event in the Uber.
This is a very sensitive topic for me. As, that's actually really good. That's really good. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. This is really hard for me because I developed a drinking problem after the boat.
So I had to be the selfie holder for a picture with the 4 of us and 3 strangers.
Do you remember the picture that you took with 2 strangers outside of the boat?
Who put you up to this? Who did it?
We all agreed to this.
Was it Jeffries? Was it Gerard? Who did it? Who put you up to this?
Those are Twin Peaks characters.
The picture? You're gonna tamper with my character, my essence?
I just asked if you remembered it.
I remember. Okay? I remember.
And what did that picture do to you?
Tarnished me. It tarnished me.
Do you remember this?
This picture ruined my life. Tarnished my self-image. Tarnished. What? What do you have to say, big boat? What?
It didn't at all.
Those girls were plants. Not like in a pot. Not in a garden. Big boat planted them there. And they wanted to take a photo with me and my friends after the boat. I didn't want to. I got roped into a Ponzi. A Ponzi scheme. Because of Big Boat. I had nothing to do with that picture. I just ended up in it. Sweetheart.
What was your memory of the Uber back to Brooklyn?
The Uber ride back was... I don't know how you could top the Uber there, but they figured out a way. First, we waited about 45 minutes because the Uber driver didn't know how to get to the drop-off.
So I was pretty much out of it for what I can assume to be most of that ride until suddenly everyone was kind of like in a commotion, and I guess that kind of snapped me into like enough sense that I'm like kind of remembering it.
The Uber back to Brooklyn. We did have to stop at one point because I won't name names, but Sean had to
The embarrassment ends, and a new emotion begins to swell up. I've profusely vomited in the Uber, and outside of the Uber, on the streets of... Were we still in Manhattan? We were probably still in Manhattan.
So we had to stop. We had to pull over. I had given him my jacket to. I had given him my jacket in the Uber because he, started to, you know how it is. You start to feel it. So I had given him my jacket.
Driver stopped, and we had to get out. So for 15 minutes of this drive home, there was about 10 minutes left to the car. We had to stop for 10 minutes because Sean yacked himself and didn't have anything else to wear.
And, all I remember is someone being like, oh, Sean's throwing up. And I'm like, fuck. And then I know it took a few minutes at least, because my sense of time is not great in that moment. And all I know is eventually we ended up back in the Uber. And then we went to... Then I have my next blip is getting to Eric's car.
What is your memory of the car ride home in Eric's car?
Absolutely nothing. I do not remember that car ride home at all.
So that's the fun other part. Once we got to Eric's car, I remember having to take a piss. So we kind of just picked alleys, whatever, took pisses. And then,
In my car, so... First of all, George walked around the block to piss where he thought was an alleyway, but it was just in front of a tree.
I'll cut to the chase. I pissed myself, and I vomited. Outside of, his window, it kind of, drooped down and probably into, the car itself. Through, the little cracks in the window. And, I don't... The urine wasn't confirmed, but, in my drunken haze, it felt like I was peeing. But my pants were mostly dry. So I don't know what happened there. I can't say for sure. But there was more upchook. Definitely. Not as much as in the oobs. But it was there. It was there.
And then I turn around and Sean has the window rolled down, but not all the way down. He looks at me. He looks out the window and he goes, I think I'm feeling sick." And I said, "Then vomit on my shirt." And he goes, "No, I'm gonna vomit out the car." And
We get in the car, and I wake up the next morning.
Do you remember what you did when you got home?
I was shirtless. There was throw up in my shoes. My dad opened the door, and he just said, "What are you doing?" And I went to bed.
I do remember what I did when I got home. This was, I want to say, maybe about 3:30, around there, maybe a little more, little less. I don't know. I grabbed a beer from my fridge because I hadn't drank enough that night. I grabbed a beer, started watching the Yard podcast, and then I fell asleep in my chair, and I woke up the next morning with a beer can in my pocket.
I'm assuming I walked straight to my bed and knocked the fuck out.
I got myself McDonald's because I was very upset and needed to eat my sadness away. I ended up just texting you, I believe, just like, almost killed them. I didn't. They're all sleeping and they're all still breathing. And then I went to bed.
And how did you feel the day after?
I was floating. I was kind of dead, but kind of not. So just kind of like, I was going through the motions. I was on autopilot, really. So to me, that just doesn't feel. It feels weird when you're just autopiloting, and you're that fucking hungover. It just feels like you're still kind of fucked up.
Certainly not well. I wouldn't even say good. Bet the entire day I was kind of not really walking through my house, just kind of like moving. Like my body was moving on its own because it knew that I had to move around the house, but I sure as hell wasn't in control. That's all I can say on that.
I was still a little annoyed in the morning. Then I, cooled off, ate breakfast, whatever. And then I think by like 2:00, one of them woke up and they were like, "Last night was awesome."
It was like if a million small elves got hammers and like nails and just... I had to throw out my shoes. I had to throw out a lot from that boat. That boat ruined me. It tarnished me. And I can't say I felt anything good the day after. I just can't.
And would you do it again?
Actually, funny thing about that Uber driver, they had a really small car, like really, really small. Like I was sitting in the front, and like it felt like, you know the phrase like two peas in a pod. It was like if I was like the only pod, but the pod was like really small. And I definitely would do it again, given the circumstances. I definitely would. I definitely would take a trip like that again. Maybe with some more provisions, maybe more like planning now that we know what to expect. But yeah, I think I would do it again.
Thank you, Billy.
You weren't walking around your house.
And would you do it again?
In a heartbeat. No, I'm joking. I think if we were to do it again, I would very much instill a cutoff, knowing that they're triple. I take personal accountability for not having a cutoff beforehand and just kind of letting them run wild. I think if we were better prepared and knew, because we didn't really know what it was. We had an idea, but we didn't realize it was a lot more than we thought. So we were kind of all caught off guard in that regard, but I think now that we're better equipped with knowledge on what happened, I think it'd be a lot better if we did it again. And I would do it again.
And thank you, Eric.
Very, very welcome.
And would you do it again?
Yes.
Thank you, George.
Of course.
Would you do it again?
Would I do it again? Here's where we have the moral dilemma. You, interviewer, are you asking me if I would recreate, or not recreate, would I relive those events specifically on the boat? No, I wouldn't. But I would make it a new memory. I would go with my beautiful partner, my best friends. Make a hell of a night. Be in maybe more assuring company than just Eric being the only sober one there. Maybe get, like, Dan. You know, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. Have him there, keep me in check. Maybe give me a cutoff number. But I would do it again. Not those events. I would go in with a new perspective, a new outlook, and give it a chance.
Thank you.
Big boat.
Thank you.
Big boat.
Go away now. So I got the story through texts and phone calls and pictures. And I didn't have FOMO. That sounds sarcastic. I did not have FOMO any one single second. It sounded like hell.
What did Eric text you the day after?
Like I said, I got my point of view from mostly texts. And I do have the receipts. Because at 2:12 in the morning, Eric texted me he threw up in the Uber. And then at 2:13 in the morning, he texted me he fucking threw up in the Uber. At 3:40 in the morning, he said, "End my car." Period. At 9:01 when I woke up with a lot of fear in my bones. I said, "Is everything okay? Are you okay?" At 11 a.m., he said, "Eventually." So that was my beginning to understanding the whole boat story. But there was so much I didn't know. I was so naive during that time.
I want to move on to the picture. Is there any way that you would maybe look at any of us differently, or anything of the sort?
I'll reference Eric's texts one more time. 'Cause then at 1:37 in the afternoon, when the posts started coming from them, I sent Eric a screenshot of the picture in question, and I said who, period. Eric replied, "Is this a call moment?" I said no, period. "I'm doing my homework, period. Who are they, period." He explained. It's fine. It's fine.
Would you let us go again?
As the manager of Salesman After Hours, no. As a friend, yes. Which contradicts being a manager, but I just want to see with my own eyes how that could happen. And also I'm scared of the ocean, and I really don't like boats. But I love my friends. So I'd go.
Would you go with us if we go again?
Yeah. I would go. And the only way that I would let anyone go is if I was there. 'Cause at a point, my partner was the only one in a relationship on that trip. And the fear I had outnumbered any other emotion I felt. But now Sean isn't the only one with a partner, and I will never put another person through the fear, so I will go with them on behalf of all current and future salesman partners out of the absolute fear that they will run rampant. And let me specify, run rampant as in throw up in strangers' cars, throw up in each other's cars, destroy friendships for maybe a second because there's piss and throw up in that person's car. I can't let that happen again. I can't.
No further questions.
Thank you.